I think the big thing is, if things are, looking down for that, because things are looking down in my track season, sophomore year, it's gonna go up. You know what I mean? Like you aren't gonna stay rock bottom forever. I thought that was gonna be like, my junior year, sophomore year. I was like, I'm doing terrible right now. I don't think it's gonna go up. Getting really fast at Nike, and then extremely fast this year. So I think the main, main takeaway is to just not get down on yourself, when things go south, because things are gonna go south eventually. So, if they're gonna go south, they're gonna go north.
That was Yohanes Van Meerten today on the Running Effect podcast. Yohanes has a remarkable story from not even making the national meet to then literally a year later being second in the country at the national meet. And this past year, not only did he place second at NXN, the national meet, but then he backed it up at the other national meet a week later in San Diego at the Brooks Cross Country Championships, placing fourth. And the crazy thing is he's only a junior and he's quite new to the sport. So I love sitting down with Yohanes in this conversation, breaking down his career insights from it, and specifically how he had this breakthrough year and how you guys can take the lessons that he learned from the past year and years into your own running and have the best 2026 possible. If you enjoy this one, make sure you give us a follow so you don't miss another conversation like this in the future. Give us a 5-star review, it takes next to no time, and make sure you share the podcast with a friend, as that is the easiest way in which we can grow this thing, and I'd be forever indebted to you. The more that you share this podcast always helps us out a ton, and I always greatly appreciate it. So without further ado, enjoy this conversation with one of the fastest boys in the country, debatably the fastest junior in the country, Yohanes Van Meerten. Ladies and gentlemen, the man sitting across from me, an absolute stud. You know him, you love him. Probably on your TikTok feed, probably on your TV, either placing second in the country, fourth in the country, challenging for the win. And he's only a junior, so he's got a big future ahead. Yohanes Van Meerten, welcome to the Running Effect podcast. How you doing, man?
Yeah, pretty good. Thank you for having me on here too.
What's the process after a big season look like? You get some downtime or picking up for indoor track already?
I took I think after Brooks, I took 2 days off, not 2 weeks off. And then, now I'm hopping in for some indoor training. So, get those legs ready for track.
Have you done indoor track before? Is this the first rodeo?
Nah, I think last year I was going to do indoor track, but I ended up getting hurt. So then I was out for all of indoor track. And then I was out for half of outdoor track. So that's why I'm so golden track right now. But this year we're gonna try, get back on my times, try to speed up a little bit and see what I can do indoor.
How do you go from this? This comes from one of your TikToks. I think I saw. Hopefully it was you. Otherwise, I'm about to look like a fool. Making NXN to second in the country. How do you make that jump in a year?
Yeah, that was my TikTok. Don't wait. But I think the main thing which got me there was definitely your mentality. I figured out this running, it's all mentality. I've noticed my freshman year, I was doing 5-10 miles a week. But at that time, I believe I was, I believed I was pretty fast. And with just off of that mentality, I managed to go 15-18 my freshman year. So a big switch, was a mentality switch where I believed, I can go out there and instead of worrying about the time, I'm going to focus on, staying with those guys, being the top pack. I think the main thing is you're gonna hit if you run a good race or a bad race. You know what I mean? If you go out there and you run a terrible race, you're gonna be hurting. You know what I mean? But if you go out there, you run a good race, you're gonna be hurting. So it really came down to would you either be hurting and run a good race, or be hurting and run a bad race? And I picked the first one.
Something fascinating, Yohanes, that I've thought about throughout the years is you have NAU and you have all these pros in Flagstaff. I've always wondered, why is there no high school kid who comes from that city who's a dog? Yeah. And then you come along, you're from Flag. And so I've really appreciated following your journey. What's your story in the sport? How'd you get into the sport? And how much pride do you take that you're from Flag, a place where, you have so many studs in the NCAA and pro, but not so much on the high school front. And now you're leading that charge.
Yeah, definitely. My story, I was born in Ethiopia, was adopted, came to the U.S. around a year old. I did not do any running. I did soccer, flag football. Wasn't big enough for football. I did, basket, and I think I got into basketball around eighth grade. Wanted to make the NBA, like every kid. I didn't, I didn't go my, freshman year. I didn't really go that much. I ran freshman year at my, other high school. I ran freshman year, but it was just like, um, I ran just because the basketball coach was like, you should go and do cross country. So I ran. I was doing 5 miles a week. Was not locked in at all. Um, then doing 5 miles a week. Had like that run. Ran a 15, 18 somehow. I didn't think that was fast or anything because I was so into basketball. Basketball season comes around. Did not ball out then. Yeah, just not balling. So I was in that Kobe mentality. So after that bad like basketball season, I didn't do track because I thought it was Kobe, so I was like, I need to get back in the gym. You know what I mean? So got back in the gym. So skipped out entire track just to, quit the sport. Not that much longer later. So I ended up quitting the sport around my sophomore year, mostly just because I wasn't growing and I kept getting blocked by everyone. So yeah, so I quit the sport, and then after I quit the sport, it was around my sophomore year. I remember I was watching the winter, like not the Olympic trials, and I saw Quincy Wilson, and that's kind of when it hit me. Like, he's the same age as me, and he's doing pretty well right now. So it was that summer of sophomore year was where every day I would go out to, because I don't have a coach at this point because our coach at my old school just left. So I decided, like it was every day. I don't know what I was doing, so I would just look up, workouts on YouTube. I would TikTok. I would just look up workouts to do and how to train, and I would just go out to the NAU, outdoor track and go and train there. Um, it was a really cool experience. Now I look at it because there's so many pros. I was there one time and Jacob Ingabitz was there. Had no idea who he was, but you know what I mean. So it
Should
was.
challenge him to one-on-one in basketball.
I think I could have gone him. Now I'm taller, so I think now I got him. But so yeah, that whole like sophomore summer, I was just like focused on running. Kind of, I ended up transferring schools just because I want to become fast. So I transferred schools, but because I transferred, I had to sit out the whole year because it was after the cross season started. So I sat out the whole year. You know, then like I think my second race of my season was NXR, so I was not racing a lot. So second race this season was NXR. Um, I think I missed out on qualifying by one spot. I think Charlie Vals took my spot, but it's okay. Um, and then I thought I was done, so I didn't really do anything. So I was like, I'm done with I'm not gonna make nationals. Found out about Foot Locker probably a week before. Like it was I didn't have zero idea what Foot Locker was. My coach like, oh, I was raced in California. So I went to Foot Locker at that race. I didn't know Josiah Tostin, Aiden Stephanopoulos. I didn't know those guys were even in the race. I only knew Trey Caldwell. So the race I got there, Trey was the first one I saw. So my main goal was to beat him. That's what I wanted to do at that regional meet. We go out. I ended up beating him at the last second. I didn't know Foot Locker Nationals was going to be a big deal until like we showed up and like, what I mean, like TJ Hansen walks past. That's kind of when it hit me. It's a pretty big deal. And my same plan was I wanted to beat Trey Caldwell because I was like I'm going to beat him.
Dang, bro's
So
out to get Trey, man.
I know I got So I think the main thing that I want to beat him so much is because his Mount Sac. That was when he broke the Mount Sac record. I saw my phone. I always wanted to race Mandy Puts. Actually, that's somewhere I've always wanted to race. And but I was like, I'm gonna get Trey instead. So I ended up placing 11th. I don't know how that happened. Then track comes around. I was gonna do Bounce Indoor Nationals, but then I got hurt with a hip thing, and then I was out for a pretty long time. Got back. I had to qualify like the week I got back for like into track. The race right before that, I had to run like a sub 420 to qualify for Arcadia. Long story short, did not run that. So I didn't go Arcadia. My track season was like just up and down, just with injuries and everything. I was finally able to start to get back and get them like around like state, so really late. Was able to go to Nike Outdoor Nationals, which was nice. And pretty fast there. And then a big thing that I noticed that I could have had more success was the season. Like after track, it was when I noticed, I was so focused on the time, I wasn't really focused on racing. So I made my goal for junior year to be focused just on racing. Because I noticed I was getting better when I would just go out there and race. Like freshman year, I didn't even know what a 15, 18 year was, like a fast 5K was. I was just racing. So a big thing for me was just changing that into just like the racing mentality instead of the focus on placement, and that's how I got here so far. And I think coming from flag, it's really cool because you get to see all these pros everywhere and all this other stuff. Um, but I think it's so nice to be up here at altitude too. But I think to be here all the pros are is always pretty cool.
Do you realize how crazy you are as a freshman to run 15, 18 off of 5 miles a week of running and not think it's that big of a deal?
Yeah, that's why I found that out a little bit. Like, I think I found it out like sophomore year, like because all my friends were all like hyped about it, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. Like, I think that now that I'm looking at it, it's like that was pretty crazy. I could see that was like my once in a lifetime race because I went back after that race to like 16:30, 16:45s, but that mentality for that one race, changed everything. Um, so yeah.
For you, basketball, are we still a sharp shooter? Is it more the issue of height? Like, if I throw you, no one in front of you, wide open three, are you delivering or no?
Yeah, I'm saying I am. I hope Caden doesn't see this. Caden's gonna hate on me. We played, basketball at Brooks. It was, I was decent. Caden would not pass the ball. Holy cow! Caden is a ball hog. You guys see it from me. But no, I mostly like. I think the main thing I was doing is I'm a float-in shooter. I like the layups I'm getting better at, but what I mean, I can't be one of those big guys down the paint or anything either. So that's sharpshooter. That's what I'm trying to stay with.
Off the story, the progression, appreciate you taking me through it. What's the big lesson that you hope someone listening takes away from your story and your journey?
Yeah, I think the big thing is I mean, if things are looking down for that, because things are looking down during my track season, sophomore year, it's gonna go up. What I mean, like you aren't gonna stay rock bottom forever. I thought that was gonna be like my junior year, sophomore year. I was like, I'm doing terrible right now. I don't think it's gonna go up. Getting really fast at Nike, and then extremely fast this year. So I think the main main takeaway is just knock it down yourself. When things go south, because things are gonna go south eventually. So I mean, if they're gonna go south, they're gonna go north too eventually too.
It's a bar right there. That's a quote, ladies and gentlemen. Throw that on a graphic. He's a poet. He's a poet.
Yeah.
Living in Flag, what's that been like? You have a third lung, or what kind of advantage you feel like you're rocking with these days?
Ooh, I gotta say, I had a hot take. Some people are not gonna agree with me on this, but I gotta say, I feel like low key. I gotta say the elevation really only helps me when they come up here. That's gonna be my take. I gotta say when I go down there, because I'm like Kane almost beat us. I think Kane's at like, Marcelo beat me, and he's at Miami. Um, my take is I feel like elevation like helps if you're here for like 3 weeks, then go back down and sea level, then come back up, like how the pros do it. But I gotta say like this is my hot take. I feel like elevation mostly only helps if you like alternate it. You know what I mean? Like if you stay up here for a while, it helps when they come to you. But when you go down to them, it's still pretty even game. I feel like. But that's gonna
Were
be my little
you?
hot take.
Yeah, you were born in Ethiopia, but when you came over to the States, have you lived in Flag your whole life or no?
Yeah, I've lived in Flag my whole life, so it's been around NEU, all this stuff, my whole life, which
Do you
now pretty cool
notice?
looking at.
Yeah,
Oh,
do you notice? Like when you're like when I talk to people and they talk about going up to altitude, they talk about like going up to altitude, the difference they feel. Are you pretty used to it since you kind of grew up in it? Like, do runs
that's why.
feel like
Yeah,
normal?
I think that's probably it though too. Because my lungs, feel pretty normal. If I go down to like California for 2 weeks, then come back, then I feel it like 100%. But I think maybe because I just grew up here my whole life, it's not like a big difference if that makes sense. Just because I've been here for like 15 plus years, 14 plus years. So maybe that could be it
And,
though too.
and when did you realize that flag was as legit as they are in the sport of running?
Ooh, I gotta say, probably I don't want to say last year. I think I think it was last year. Yeah, because I still don't know anything about running. Like I don't even know. Like I think there's probably a thing on my Insta. I was naming those runners and everything too. And like I barely know anything about runners. Like the runners I know, Jacob Ingebrigtsen, Tucker Valby, um, uh, Quincy Wilson, and you got Shea, and Cole Hawker. Like those are my four runners I kind of know. So I think it's still kind of hitting me like how big and like the people up here too like in flag is a lot of people don't know how good NAU is actually at cross country though too. Like just like talking to people, they're like people just don't know how big like cross country is at NAU and running that stuff too. But I think it's a big eye opener to actually now to see it more like after being in the sport for a little bit.
It's amazing. I love the story, man. For you, is it more you're so new to the sport that you don't really know about the sport, or is it more so like you just don't really care to know about the sport at a professional level that you don't know about it at a professional level?
Yeah, I just say like for me the main thing where I felt like I went wrong in basketball, which is a good lesson that God taught me. But I just like I made basketball my everything. I like because that's like I made my everything. And I wouldn't be able to perform because I was like I was thinking about it all the time. And what God says, don't idolize something. And definitely now I look at it, I was definitely idolizing it. You know what I mean? I was in the gym so much. I was whole you page basketball, everything basketball, basketball, basketball. And I just noticed like I just see so much more success in my running where like I'm a runner, but I'm also a human. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a runner, but like when I get hurt, where's my identity stand? Because for a big thing, I've changed my identity. Instead of standing in, the basketball, not basketball, instead of like running, I've changed it. You know what I mean? Like my identity stands like with Jesus. You know what I mean? My identity stands like as a person. My identity stands. Playing video games. My identity isn't like just like with running. And I've noticed. You know what I mean? Like when I don't like hyper focus and idolize running, you see, God helps you perform better because He doesn't want you to idolize things. But I think with your question too, though, I think I probably should start to get to know who the pros are and that stuff too. Um, but right now, it doesn't really concern me because I'm not a pro. I just know the high schoolers. But I'm gonna take it probably from there. Just know the high schools when I get to college. Know the college runners and so on.
So if you turn on the NCAA like national championship meet, you probably wouldn't know most of the people.
I know. Oh, I forgot the Villanova guy.
Marco
The
Langen.
Yeah, and Sano him.
Yeah, I
But
love Marco.
yeah,
That
I
guy's a
think if I
dog.
turn it on, I would not, because my friend loves like he loves everything running, so I usually get it from him. But no, if I would turn on NCAA or anything, I had zero idea what's going. Like I know what's going on, but I don't know who those people are.
I love it. I love it.
So
So
yeah,
last year, Foot Locker, I was there. Hoka spoils kids. Nice meet hotel, tons of gear, crazy experience. Was that eye opening for you? Like, whoa, like, what am I walking into? As a guy who didn't know what Foot Locker was like a month before.
yeah, definitely. I think it was crazy. I think the first time to notice like what I mean like because if I'm honest, like I don't think I even deserved it. What I mean? I even know it even was a race like a week before. But I think it was definitely eye opening to see how cool like this how cool this place was. You know what I mean? Like that there were like all these great runners. High school runners like in the hot tub with me. You know what I mean? So I think it was definitely eye opening to see all of that.
When we talk about that race, the Foot Locker Cross Country National Championships, you had the goal of beating Trey, but obviously so many other remarkable athletes racing in that race. Did that for you light a fire under your belly of like, oh, this is a big sport. You can be really good at it, and maybe some excitement about like I'd love to win this race one day.
Yeah, definitely. My I knew I wanted I've now gotten the mentality where I want to win a lot of the races I race in. But I also know I can't really control it. Um, but I think definitely learning on that course last year, I feel like this year at Brooks, it was that second hill. That second hill was just like Marcelo win. I think I don't know when he even win. I just like I remember looking up and he was ahead of all of us. But I think it's just that second hill that killed me this year. Um, and if I'm honest, on that second hill too, like I kind of like just gave up. I think you probably see in the video where they start to break away. I'm with these guys. I think I'm right in the middle. I think it goes Marcelo's pretty far ahead of us. Um, Jackson, me, Sean, and Caden. So I'm in a perfect spot. And if I'm honest, like I look up at Marcelo, I'm like Marcelo's gonna die out. Like if I'm honest, that's what I thought. I was like Marcelo is gonna like when we catch him, he's just gonna die off. When we hit that hill, that's just when everything goes south for me because I was feeling good. Right as we hit that hill, like I just see Sean pass me, and then Caden pass me, and then I see Jackson make it up to Marcelo, and then Marcelo's not slowing down. Marcelo's speeding up. So, I hit the hill, kind of lost a little bit of mentality there. And then I think it was just that lost mentality for like only 200 meters. That really sold the race for me. I felt like, because for the 200 meters, I was running with no purpose. I think I said that in the interview. When I got to the top of the hill, I was like, all right, let's get fifth. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay if you get fifth. Let's just not have anyone else pass us. So I feel like on that top of that little like hill, I was running with no purpose. Didn't want to get back into it. But I did that downhill, still with no purpose, and that's when it kind of hit me like, what I mean? I was because our West team, we wanted to win as a West team. That was our big goal, win as a West team. So it hit me. I was like, if I beat Sean and Caden, who's right in front of me, like that could be an extra like point for our team. So for those last, I think 300 meters, I just started trying to kick. I'm just like, I want to at least try to get to them. I managed to, I'm trying to get to them. These guys are far away though, but I'm trying to kick because I'm like, what, like, I, I'm not gonna, I don't want to get fifth. That's it's kind of what's going through my head, like, what I mean, like I'm not gonna win this race, but I'm not gonna get fifth place. So that was kind of going through my head. I was able to catch Sean at the last second. I felt like if I didn't give up for those like 100, 200 meters, I could have been closer to Caden. But, I can't change it now. But I think that was definitely, because I want to go in and win that race this year, coming off of a loss at NXN. I wanted to go in that race, but, maybe I'll be back next year. It'll be a little bit different. So, yeah.
As you think about next year, you and Marcelo are kind of headlining this star-studded, what is now junior class. How do you think about next year? You play second at NXN after not making the meet, and then you come back to Foot Locker that's now rebranded to Brooks Cross Country, and you place fourth in the country. How do you think about, your chances of winning a national title? And you seem like a kid who's really grounded, so maybe you're not thinking about winning all too much, but what's kind of your perspective on, the year and 6 months you still have left in the sport?
Yeah. I think, the main thing is, I think, a kid can come out of nowhere. I think that's been my main focus. Like, I went from being kind of an underdog to like now being people are looking at me to beat. That people are like. I think it really hit me at Mount Sac. We were on the start line, and Mount Sac start line. I'm talkative. I gotta talk before a race. Like I can't be if I'm too locked in. I don't run well. So, what I mean. I was this guy next to me. I was chatting with him, and then this other kid on the team. I think his name is Johan. He like looked over at me. He's like, "You're Yohanes, right?" And I was all happy at this point, but he didn't seem that happy. But I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "I watched you at Foot Locker." That's all he said. And so at this point, I was like, "Ooh, like yeah, I really got talking my back for this race." So I think I know a kid can come out of nowhere. That happened to me. nobody. I remember, people didn't even have me. I was at the start of the season. I was going 22nd, still pretty high. Pretty high. But I know next year, a kid could come out of nowhere. Um, if I'm honest, Jackson, he didn't come out of nowhere, but he was on the list, but he dominated like crazy. So I think the main thing for me is, now that I'm at, if people are expecting, me and Marcelo to win, we gotta know a kid from Iowa can come out of nowhere probably in less than 3 races. So I think the main thing is just, trying to stay at this top and don't get too distracted with everything else. Because, just like that, a kid can come out of nowhere and take your national championship away. So I think a big thing is, just getting ready for, because I know what's going to happen. I know a kid's going to come out of nowhere. So, just getting ready for that kid to come out of nowhere and, trying to go out there, and run fast.
When you think about, I was going to ask a question. I'm losing my train of thought. What was I going to ask?
There you go.
I remember. We'll edit that part out. You mentioned sitting on the start line and, being a big talker. I actually did notice at Brooks that you and Jackson, by the way, two of the front runners coming into the race, actually the two front runners coming into the race, because you're 1 and 2 at NXN. I have no clue why you guys got literally put on the complete opposite end at the start line. You guys probably had the two worst start spots. Maybe that's just my opinion, but I thought that was crazy. But I saw you talking to Jackson like 2 seconds before the gun goes off. What was being said? And are you not nervous? Is that a cope with being nervous? What's going on there?
Yeah, for me, I've always, as I said, talking makes me, not as nervous. When I know I'm going to go out there and have fun, and I'm not, I don't stress myself. I'm always nervous, but I don't make it seem like, like this, like if I lose this race, everyone dies. Like, I don't think like that. So at the start line, I think Jackson was trying. I definitely messed up his lock-in moment because but I think if the start thing, the camera, I think you probably see it. The guy with the camera like comes down, just like holds it under Jackson, like at Jackson for like he just stands there and just holds it there for probably like 20 seconds, and then he's on the big screen. He doesn't know he's there. So, and Jackson, he's doing I think he's doing like this for like the whole time, and then I don't know what else he did. He's just like we're both just like staying there, both starting to laugh, and then the guy finally starts to move, and I think right before he says that, I don't even know what we were talking about. I think probably actually the starter guy with the hat, like the red, like the guy who shot the gun. I think we were talking about him. Well, I was just talking to myself. Jackson was trying to focus, and I was just there kind of just talking to myself. But as the gun went off, I also as the gun went off, you could probably see I accidentally grab him and push him back right as the gun went off too. But I gotta think what we were talking about. I'll remember it probably eventually what we were talking about. But yeah.
Big talker on the start line. You don't want to be next to this guy if you want to be locked in. That's the lesson. You'll beat you anyways.
Yeah.
As you think into the track season, what are the goals specifically after having a tough sophomore year filled with injury? How are you hoping to bounce back this junior year?
Yeah. I got pretty not hard goals. I think the main thing. I think my main goal is to break 2 in the 800. I think that's probably my main thing. But I think I'm just trying to go out there. I want to stay with that front pack because if I stay with that front pack, I'm gonna run fast times. I want to get Jackson. I think he knows too. I want to beat him someday before he goes off to college. So I think a big thing is just going out there, competing at every race, and just seeing what I can do. And seeing if my race instincts aren't the strongest right now to win the kick. So I think a big thing I'm gonna be working on is when I should probably kick. But yeah, I think the goal is this season is to stay that front pack in all my races.
You're a man known for his cellies. Where do you get them from? And is there a celly you haven't popped out yet that you're looking forward to?
Ooh, the cellies. Yeah. Everyone knows me for the cellies now. We gotta say I get them probably. Because I was so into basketball and football, cellies are kind of a big thing over there. I think, a big thing too was when I came to the sport, if I'm honest, cross country, I'm not like a distance. Like I'm not gonna want to watch distance though. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't really like no offense, but I don't like want to watch like 20 skinny dudes going on a track 10 times. You know, like that's not on my gut. Like you're across country, you watch a bunch of like skinny dudes run in the forest. So I think when I was coming to the sport too, I was like I want to spice up this sport at least a little bit. Like if I can't spice it up a lot, I'll spice it up at least a little bit. So you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to bring at least a little bit of swag in, like from my football and basketball, because I was so into that. Like a little bit of stuff like that, like the graphics. People see the graphics. Um, I think some celebrations at the end of the race. Like instead of finishing a line just like walking off, you gotta like have a little bit of swag. You know what I mean? Because you stand out, and it also helps you out with business opportunities too. Because like people see that you're different than what everyone else is doing. So I think celebrations really just came from like kind of noticing like this sport, like no offense, like it's not like this is why we get hit on by the sprinters, because it's like it's not there's no like swag or anything. You know what I mean? Like people aren't gonna want to like sit around and watch it, but like I feel like people will be more involved, like if there's a little bit more like I'm not gonna trash talk. I don't know how you're trash talking the race, but you know what I mean, like celebration at the end. You know what I mean? A little bit more of that stuff would get, the sport definitely more money, more viewerships, like just like stuff like that. And just make the sport interesting. So I think, my main thing, the celebrations, I was like, let's add just a little bit of swag, it'd be a little more different. And then where I celebration. We're gonna find some more. I saw a couple during the, Ole Miss Miami game. So may pop out one of those, the Steelers Ravens game, may
By
pop
the
out
way,
a football
come
game.
on, total miss pass interference at the end of that game. Ole Miss
That's
should have
what I'm
won.
saying. It was a pass interference. I was looking at that. They should have definitely. That was a. I know.
It's
I'm
pretty
that
blatant.
Steelers game, but it was definitely a pass interference. Though I was like, yeah, those refs. The refs are not. At least the college basketball refs right now are terrible though. So um, but yeah, they are not it right now. But yeah, pass interference. They got to run it back, and should have been 5 seconds back on the clock though too. But pass interference for sure.
Yohanes, final serious question for you. What's the final takeaway message you have for the audience today?
Yeah, I think a big takeaway would be, don't get all wrapped up in time. Everyone looks at, all of your For You page, miles per floor, like it's just times, like 12-year runs a, you know, sub 10, something crazy like that. It's all, your time is all over your For You page. And I noticed that when I play basketball too, you see 6 foot, like this kid's in 8th grade and already doing windmills. Like you just see that, and then you just, get upset with your, self and everything too. Like I'm not there yet. But I think the main thing is, don't get obsessed with the time. Just go out there, and if you have fun and you're competing, everything's gonna change. If you focus on, if you focus on going out there and competing with everyone else, like you're gonna have fun. Um, that's what I've just noticed. When you focus so much on each split, each lap split, you're not gonna have fun because you're so stressed out during the race. You're focusing on the splits. You should be focused on winning the races. And like I said, you're gonna hurt if you want a bad race or a good race. So at the end of the day, it's your decision if you want to run a good race or a bad race, because it's gonna hurt anyway. So yeah.
Yohanes, you're a legend. Final question for you. The question I ask every guest on every single podcast. If you had Gordon Ramsay coming over to your house for dinner, what would you choose to make for him?
Whew, that's a good one. I gotta think about this. Okay, I'm actually good at making boba. That's my one
Oh,
thing.
interesting.
That's my little, I know, a little secret. No, I would say you'd like my boba. Um, I gotta figure out how to actually like do like the. I don't know how they actually like put like the juice in the balls or whatever. I think you just get them. I think they probably just get store bought though. But I gotta say, Hooky boba. I don't know. I've not cooked for a while. I gotta say, I could low key make some good wings. I feel like that's a random combo, but I feel like I
Boba and
got
wings. We'll
Gordon
go
Ramsay
with
with the
it.
boba. I got Gordon Ramsay with those
Keep him on
boba.
his toes.
Trust me.
Keep him on his toes.
Yeah,
Man, you're a
exactly.
legend. Appreciate the energy and enthusiasm you bring to the sport, and stoked we get you for another year in high school. Keep crushing it, man. Cheering you on.
All right. Thank you so much for having me on.